The following video is part 1 of our Crashing the Association 2021 season preview in the form of a League Pass draft. Check our YouTube channel for parts 2 and 3. Enjoy! Hello and welcome to the brand new Crashing the Association. Jordan, we had so much fun doing Crashing the Boards that we decided to carry over into the NBA season. Both of us are NBA guys. Neither of us really have NBA writing commitments necessarily this year. And so it just seemed natural to get together and do a weekly podcast. Give us a reason to watch the game. I know you're super busy. I don't know how you do it, but for me, it's always nice to be able to exercise the creative side. And I'm so pumped to be joining you for a new podcast.
Evan, I don't have a family. Well, I have a family. I take that back. I don't have a kid. You definitely are staying just as busy as I am, man. But it just made sense. You know, we were like, man, we could write a little bit for different websites. We weren't having as much fun. You know, we just want to have fun. And this idea, definitely, I think the fact that we're both so busy and we really wanted to do this shows how much fun it's going to be. Like, I'm super excited, just kind of an escape to chat hoops once a week. I think that we learned some good things from Crashing the Boards, and that's not going to go away. We're still going to try to do some stuff with scouting, of course, but super excited to be back, man. The duo's back, and I think that Crashing the Association is going to be really cool.
Me too, man. Me too. A lot has happened since our last Crashing the Boards episode. We have a new Twitter account. It's Crashing Hoops. It's just at Crashing Hoops, nice and simple. That's where you can find all of our work, including Crashing the Boards and Crashing the Association. We'll also be tweeting out different opportunities to buy Crashing the Boards / Crashing Hoops gear. We haven't really turned the store over into Crashing Hoops. It's still a lot of Crashing the Boards merchandise, but I'm a little biased because I created it all, but I think it's pretty fire gear in the store. So be sure to check that out. You can find a link in the show description. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Crashing Hoops. We'll work on getting the Instagram transferred over as well, but the season's coming up so fast that we've got to get some content out, Jordan. And,
man, it just flew by. Sorry, I can't. It's mind blowing, dude. I don't even know. It went by so quick.
It did. And I feel like preseason just started, and all of a sudden, all these teams have 3 games in. Some of them 4. I don't know exactly, but and the season starts Tuesday. Is that right?
I think so, man. It's I know hockey just started, and basketball's right behind that. It's really the best month of the year. I think October, especially with MLB playoffs and everything, it's arguably the best sports month of the year.
Yeah, I tend to agree. So we're going to kick off Crashing the Association a little differently than we'll normally do Crashing the Association. I'm going to call it CTA from now on, because that's a mouthful to say every time. But normally we'll talk just some trending topics, some highlights of the week of basketball. Our plan is to record every Wednesday, release audio and video Thursday / Friday. One of those 2 days, if not both. And we'll take some fan questions throughout the week. We'll have some different segments. But for today, we're going to preview the season a little bit differently than I've seen most media outlets preview. A lot of good podcasts out there, a lot of good preview shows. I'm not going to pretend like we're the best and greatest and only basketball podcast. I mean, if you're listening to this, I'm sure you've listened to other ones, but for me, the Ringer NBA show, the Mismatch, also part of the Ringer, Sam Vecini's podcast, Game Theory, one of my favorite ones. And then the ESPN guys, the Low Post, Windhorse is okay. But what are some other basketball podcasts you listen to, Jordan? Just while we're on.
Man, you hit literally all of them. The Draft Act podcast. Obviously, Corey. Shout out to Corey. They do fantastic work over at Draft Act. One of my favorite shows. I think it's really hard, like for me as I have the office job now, so I should be listening to podcasts at work. And at first I did. And I haven't really in a while, but it's so hard for me to keep my attention on something for that long. And really any of those podcasts you mentioned, along with Draft Act, do a fantastic job of keeping me locked in. They're lighthearted, but they're also they range in terms of depth of analysis and stuff like that. And I think this is kind of like a microcosm of that. Like we're going to have some episodes where we really nerd out into numbers and mention film, games we watch, stuff like that. And then we're going to have fun stuff like this, where we kind of just take something that's been done. Like everyone has a preview episode out already. I've seen a couple articles do what we're trying to do, but I haven't seen a podcast do it or heard a podcast do it. So I'm pretty excited, man.
Yeah, and I can't leave out the dunker spot. Caius Duncan does such a great job on the podcast, but writing as well, and fantastic follow on Twitter. But so what we're going to do is we're going to do a league pass draft. Now, we are approaching this draft as if the teams that we pick are the only teams that we can watch for the entire season. Now, obviously, that's not going to be the case, right? We're going to be following all 30 teams, right? But for the sake of this exercise, let's say I get the number one pick. I'm going to take the team that I want to watch the most of this season. As if I would not be able to watch them if they were not on my roster. So each of us is going to have 15 teams by the end of this. And like I said, if Jordan drafts a team that I really want, the thought process is that I won't get to watch that team. So that's how we're approaching this. It's not necessarily a who do we think is going to finish first in the East, second in the East, first in the West, second in the West. It's not a power rankings. It's literally just who do we want to watch? Who are we looking forward to watching? And we're going to go all the way through the teams that we don't really care to watch and talk about that a little bit. But it'll give us a chance to preview the teams for you, but also give you a glimpse into how each of us watches the game, how, what interests us, what intrigues us, and, maybe some of the teams that we've been following for a while in our lives. So I'm looking forward to doing this. I've not seen it done. It's definitely new to me. I think it's going to work out pretty well. If not, I hope you listen through the whole thing anyway. I'm not sure how long it's going to last. Could be a while. So settle in. But Jordan, since you are, I don't want to say a guest because you're the.
I'm just coming on. I'm just popping in
I'm trying to be
episode.
kind. I'm just going to let you go first. You get the first pick. I don't have a coin with me. I was going to flip a coin. We're going to let you go first. Who is your first overall pick in this year's League Pass draft?
Man, before I reveal my pick, if it was a power ranking, mine would be completely jacked up because I have some teams that might not even make the playoffs, probably won't, that are high on my list. And I have, I broke it down into tiers, and I know you did too. I have a really want to watch tier that makes up 15 teams in the league. And I think, so my setup, I'll just kind of give people a peek behind the curtain. I have my notes app up on my laptop right now. Evan has paper and pen, and usually the roles are flipped, and I have the handwritten notes and Evan is on the computer. So we're already switching it up from crashing the boards. Then I have the indifferent tier where I'm like, I like some things about these teams. I don't like some things about them. Then I have about 5 teams at the bottom that I'm like, if they're like my, you have a 15-man rotation in the NBA, they're like the 14th or 15th guy where you're like, you'll get a couple minutes in the regular season when the team's up big, or if we're just decimated by injury. But my number one pick, I've got the Golden State Warriors. Man, I am stoked to watch Golden State. I think with Klay Thompson eventually returning, that's going to throw another guy into the fold for them, and they're going to be competitive. James Wiseman looked so overmatched in year one. I want to see how he develops. Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, I want to see how they play. The team is deeper. Jordan Poole is going to take a step forward. I think Steph Curry obviously is back. Andre Iguodala back in the fold. Man, it's Golden State has to kind of make a choice, I think, between prioritizing winning now and developing the young players. I'm not sure they can do both. It's going to be one heck of a balancing act if they do. And for those reasons, they're my number one team I want to watch. I'm just, whether it's good, bad, great, ugly, I think it's going to be a mix of all of that. I am stoked to watch the Golden State Warriors.
So with each pick, I'm going to tell you, and I hope you'll tell me where you had that pick on your own board.
Yes.
I had them down at 18
Evan.
on my board. 18. So, okay. I actually like what you said. They have a balancing act between future development and win now. I think they're in a really good situation for both of those things. They still have the core, the OGs, if you will, in Steph, Draymond, and Clay eventually. And then I think Jordan Poole is going to be fun. He's looking really good. I think he's going to take a big leap. I think he is, I don't want to call him the future of the Warriors necessarily yet, but he's a really nice piece who's learning from some really good players. I think Moses Moody will be able to contribute right away. I don't know at a high level necessarily, but he'll be able to be a rotation player. I don't necessarily think Kuminga is going to be ready. We said that when we covered him in Crashing the Boards, right? That we didn't necessarily think Kuminga was going to be a day one contributor. I think that throughout the preseason and summer league, he's shown flashes. I think he's exactly the player that we are expecting him to be, and I think he will be the future, but I don't think he's necessarily ready yet. But I think for me, the reason they're down at 18 is because I like the Warriors. I think the Warriors will be a good team, but they're not really going to show me much different than what I've been seeing the last few years, right? Steph's going to shoot a lot of threes, make a lot of threes, and be a fun player to watch. He might hit 50 or 60 some nights this season, right? Draymond, he's going to be the cog that makes the machine work. Interesting player to watch, but just Draymond. And just Draymond is exactly what the Warriors need, but it's not that exciting to me. That's all. I'm not saying they're going to be bad. And that's the glory of this whole exercise, is that some of these teams are going to be super pumped about. Some of these teams you might like and I won't. Doesn't necessarily mean they'll be bad. Just means I'm not interested.
Yeah, that's the best part. Like you said, man, there's going to be like one where I picked second, a team you had at like 28 or something crazy like that. And this is one heck of a start. I saw the look on your face when I said Golden State, and I was like, either Evan like secretly hates the Warriors, secretly loves the Warriors, or he had them way lower than I did. So I'm glad it was that third one.
Yeah, I had to flip to page 4 of my notes to get to that one. So actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th page of my notes. So interesting. I love it. That's a great start. Great start. We're going to move to pick 2 because we've got 30 teams to get through, and I don't want to keep people all night. That's the joy of podcasting, though. I guess you can press pause and come back to it later. But my first pick, and pick number 2 overall, this is an easy one. Brooklyn Nets. I got the Nets. And I got to make my notes correctly here. There we go. So look, you know what you're getting with the Nets. KD is, to me, the most fun player to watch in the NBA. Just with his, I don't need to go analytic on KD. Everyone gets it. The size, the smooth way he plays the game, does it all. He's fantastic. James Harden, obviously fun to watch. Will be interesting to see how he plays this year, but sounds like he's taking on more of a leadership role from some of the stuff that I've listened to. I really love Joe Harris. I think, and look, I'll probably say this every episode that we ever have, but when I was in high school, I liked to shoot threes, and not at a high level, but I like to shoot threes on the move. I like to shoot threes from the corner. I like to set my feet and shoot threes. I love anybody in the NBA that is a 3-point shooter, and that's Joe Harris. Blake Griffin's fun. Patty Mills, he'll be nice for depth. I'm interested to see how he does. They have Paul Millsap, who, for me, well, we'll get to my thoughts on the Nuggets later on, but I really liked watching him with the Nuggets, and it'll just be cool to see him on that team. I know Aldridge is coming back this year, see how he plays. But The biggest thing for me is that the Nets are a team that I can watch every minute of, and there's someone on the court that I'm pumped up to watch. I think you know where I'm going with this, but Cam Thomas, when
Yes.
when that first unit's not on the floor, you can bet that Cam Thomas will be. And Cam Thomas, if you haven't watched him in preseason or summer league, uh, he is a bucket, and I cannot wait to watch him play.
Yeah, man, Cam's going to be awesome. I can't believe he fell to the Nets. Like it's unfair that it happened, but a lot of teams don't need a guy that can just go get a bucket but needs work elsewhere, and the Nets are like, if he can come off the bench and do that, that's perfect for their means. They have other guys that can do other things. So I have the Nets 13th, and that definitely doesn't mean that I'm not excited for them. But I think they're so dang good that I just kind of am a little numb to it now, which is weird because they haven't won a championship yet. And you have the whole Kyrie thing. There's a little bit unknown with them, and they're such a fun watch because Durant and Harden are obviously great. They have great depth. I'm kind of contradicting myself because I'm going to jump in and give my second pick, a team that has been really, really good. I got the Los Angeles Lakers, number 2, on my rankings. And so I've got my number 1 and 2 overall teams with my picks 1 and 2, having a good draft. I think, man, the renovation outside of LeBron and AD, I know that LeBron-led teams always have a ton of turnover in the offseason. He's not afraid to say, hey, I want this guy, I don't want this guy. Can the Russell Westbrook experiment work out? Which lineups will Vogel go to? How often is AD going to play the 5? When's Dwight Howard going to step in? Is Malik Monk going to work his way into the rotation? Starting at least. How's Carmelo Anthony going to do? There's once Trevor Ariza gets back, how he's going to do. There's so many questions with that team. They're old. They're not extremely athletic. They have some athletes. They have some guys that can shoot. There isn't a ton of shooting. LeBron, is he still LeBron? Can Westbrook do it? Is AD going to stay healthy? How's that going to look? Playoff Rondo, will he show up? Will he be completely washed up? So many questions, and I think that obviously you can't play the underdog card with the Los Angeles Lakers. No one's really counting them out as a bad team, but I think that if things come together, they can do some serious damage, and I think they will do some serious damage.
Yeah, I had the Lakers at 5. I'm also really interested to see how it fits. I am an Ohio guy, followed LeBron with the Cavs for a long time. I still remember when he tried to put together the Dwayne Wade and D Rose season, and that lasted for a couple months. This feels a little bit like that with Westbrook and Melo coming over to the squad. Something that you should know about me if you didn't before, I grew up a big Kentucky fan. Mm-hmm. And Anthony Davis, his jersey. So I had his jersey on the wall beside Kobe's from Kentucky. It actually fell and the frame is broken. It's sitting over here now. But he's one of my favorite Kentucky players of all time. I also have a master's degree from Syracuse. And so I am sort of a fan of the Orange, and Carmelo is obviously the best Syracuse basketball player of all time. So in that regard, I'm excited to watch the Lakers. Malik Monk's another Kentucky guy who, look, he hasn't played for a great team in his career, and it'll be interesting to see him play with some other really good players around him, because he could be that spark off the bench that could really carry a team in terms of a second unit. So I like the Lakers. I like that pick. Like I said, they were number 5. So far you've taken my 5th and 18th team off the board. So I am looking good. And I moved to my second pick number 4 overall. I got the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls are probably not going to win the NBA Finals. The Bulls should make the playoffs, I think. But I grew up in the 90s. I'm a product of the 90s. I am not far from Chicago. They're like the 3rd closest NBA city, maybe 4th closest. I still have an MJ jersey. I've got a Lauri Markkanen jersey from the Bulls actually upstairs in the closet. We'll talk about him later on. But I'm just a Bulls guy. I just always have been. And I'm so glad that they've got some names and they've got a roster that's actually worth watching now. Um, I've been a Zach LaVine fan for a long time now. And to see him, it's so exciting to see him with Lonzo, with DeRozan. It was obviously cool to see Vooch come over midseason last year, but I think they've got a really good team. I think Lonzo's a dog, and you and I both, we've talked about Pat Williams before, but I'm really, really happy for his development that he doesn't have to be the guy right away and won't have to be the guy for a few years because he came in, I think he was the youngest player drafted in the first round last year. If not, he was one of the youngest. Really raw talent, great defender, big hands, long arms, pretty good shooter, just a guy that needs to be able to develop. And the fact that he doesn't have to contribute on the offensive end at a high level right now and can just play defense and kind of get in the NBA flow with all these really good players surrounding him is awesome. I mean, I could go on and on. LaVine started to play defense last year and talked about it in the offseason. His newfound focus on defense and how Billy Donovan sat them down and showed them, stats from the last 3 or 4 finals teams and how good they were defensively and how that seemed to have stuck with LaVine. And Lonzo's a great defender. Alex Caruso is on the squad now, and he's just a fun player. Good defender off the bench. Probably will see some significant minutes in crunch time. We already talked about the defense of Pat Will. Vucevic defensively, they might have some problems in the low post with some of the bigger post players, some of the better, more dominant post players. But, man, I really like the Bulls. Depth-wise, Kobe White coming off the bench, a guy that's been developing, could take a really big leap in, was this year 3 now for him? And then lastly, a guy that won't get a ton of minutes, but should be a decent NBA player from the jump is Dosunmu Aya from Illinois, a guy that we covered on Crashing the Boards as well. So I'm excited for the Bulls, man. That traditionally or generally I've always liked the Bulls, but now they've given me a really good reason to tune in regularly.
Yeah, man, I had the Bulls 5th, so we're not far off there at all. I think Lonzo and DeRozan are huge additions for them. Offensively, I think this team's top 10, like in the NBA. I don't know what it's going to be, like points scored, offensive rating, whatever it's going to be, efficiency. They're going to be top 10. Defensively, I do worry about them. I don't think they're going to be literally horrible. I think they might be bottom 3rd in the NBA, but they're going to be like the upper part, I think, of that, like maybe 20th or so, which I think if you have a top 10 offense and you're middle of the pack to below average on defense, like not bad or not horrible, you can win a lot of games like that. I think they are a playoff team. I think that there's a lot of writers and national media that say the Bulls won't even make the play-in tournament. Like they're going to be well below 500. I'm like, the Bulls are past that, man. They have too many good players, I think, to not do some damage and win plenty of games. So I like literally everything you said. I completely agree with. I was trying to find a bone to pick with anything you said. I couldn't do it. And for the sake of having 20, however many more teams to go, I think that's a good pick, man.
Well, I just want to say I disagree with you on defense. I really do think, and I understand the concern. Bulls traditionally not a great defensive team. Zach LaVine, not a great defender historically. Vucevic, not a great defender historically. But I really think with the addition of Lonzo, I think DeRozan's a fine defender. I think Williams is a great defender. Will keep getting better. And I think LaVine's going to end up being decent on defense this year. I really think the Bulls will be better defensively than people think.
I hope so. Because if that's the case and the offense is gelling, dude, they're going to be a damn good team. So yeah. I hope that's the case. Am I on my 3rd pick already?
You are, sir.
Yeah. Pick number 3 is, pick number 3, 5th overall, my 3rd team on the list. So I've gone 1, 2, 3 so far. I have the Miami Heat. Man, and
I knew you were gonna do it. I knew it. All
I've
right.
been a big Heat fan since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Dwayne Wade's my guy. Obviously, he's not there anymore. He might have influence on a pick here in a little bit that we might talk about. Not to spoil it, it's going to come out anyway. The Kyle Lowry edition, I really like. I don't think it's going to save them, but I think it does make them clearly better. I believe in Tyler Hero not having like a complete breakout, like 24-point per game season. He's not going to have that opportunity on this team. But I think he can have an efficient, like 18-ish points per game and be like a good sixth man. Not necessarily a candidate for the award. He might be if he breaks out enough. I believe in him improving. And I know that preseason, you can only put so much stock in it, but he has looked, his handle looks tighter. He's making better reads. He's passing the ball better. His bag looks too, he's playing with more confidence. And I never thought I'd have to say that about Tyler Hero. But he does look more confident. Victor Oladipo, anything he can offer them, it's going to be a plus. PJ Tucker, guys like that, they're just not the deepest team. But I think the Heat culture is a legit thing, and I do believe in them. And I think Bam has one more level he can tap into. Aggressive Bam is really, really good. And he sometimes, remember when LeBron got there, and I'm not trying to compare the players at all, but the situation when LeBron was like scared to step on Wade's toes that first year in Miami, and he was like, I don't know when I can, pick my spots or whatever. I think Bam kind of has that with Jimmy Butler, because Jimmy's like, damn it, if I'm getting the ball, I'm taking off. Like, I'm going to the rim. I'm going to be aggressive here. Still a great passer. The drive and dish is always a threat with Jimmy, but Bam showed off a little bit of a mid-range game, even just kind of a little bit of wiggle in his game. He's not going to have the craziest handle or anything for a center. He's obviously a good passer, but a long road to a short answer, or what should have been one. I'm stoked to watch the Miami Heat.
Yeah, man. And I actually had the question on my sheet here. What is Bam's ceiling? So I think you've answered that pretty well. I had the Heat at number 7. It's a team that I'm definitely excited to watch. I watched a couple of their not the full preseason games, but a couple bits and pieces of each game. They move the ball around really well. I think Lowry, the addition of him, everyone knows that's a big deal just to get Kyle Lowry, but the way the ball is moving through Kyle, the way he's able to connect some of those splashers, Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, they've added PJ Tucker, who's a great defender and a guy that can spread the floor from the corners as well in spurts. I think Lowry really makes the Heat top 3 or 4 team in the East.
Yeah,
like
I'm with that.
No question, top 3 or 4. I'm afraid to say 1 or 2 because that's just that gets into hot take land. But
I think 3.
Yeah, I really think that they're going to be a great team. I have them at 7 just because there's some other. We'll get into these other teams, but I've been really impressed with them so far.
Let's hear it, man. I'm excited. You said other teams. Who is Evan Skilliter's 4th overall pick?
So this is my 3rd pick, actually.
Oh, 3rd pick. Sorry.
It's okay, it's late at night. I get it. I got the Nuggets. And
okay.
they are 3rd on my board. So I'm 1, 2, 3 as well. Nets, Bulls, Nuggets. I've always been partial to the Nuggets. I shouldn't say always. The last since Jamal Murray got there, essentially been partial to the Nuggets. I work for a company that is based in Denver. I spend a lot of time out there. Go to a lot of Nuggets games. So naturally you just become partial to those teams. I got a Nuggets, some Nuggets gear, whatever. So that's first and foremost on why they're in my top 3. But look, that team is loaded right now. They obviously have the returning MVP. Jokic is just a phenomenal basketball player and just fun to watch. Again, this is a league pass draft. And so in terms of like just teams that are fun to watch, guys that are fun to watch, Jokic is exactly that. And Michael Porter Jr. is becoming that as well, right? He is just, he has come so far, shot 40% last year, around 40% from 3 last year, just an animal. And he's only getting better. I hope he stays healthy. It's looking pretty good in terms of his health, but he's come a long way, and I think he's going to be a really, really, really good NBA player this year. Um, they signed Aaron Gordon to a long-term deal, and I think he's a great piece for them. He's a great player, obviously an all-star caliber player, but just so much depth. And look, Jamal Murray, we're not sure when he's going to come back, but I still think without Jamal Murray, the way this team is built is, they're a playoff team, top 5, top 6 team in the West without Jamal. With Jamal, who knows what happens. And you and I are both big Bones Highland fans, right?
Yep.
And Bones has been really, really good in summer league and in preseason. Summer league, 4 games, he shot 40% from 3. So far in the preseason, in 3 games, he played 26 minutes a game, 36% from 3 on 7.3 attempts. So we're not talking about just a few threes. Like, this dude is shooting a lot and making a lot. 4 assists and 5 rebounds to go along with it, and 54% from the field overall. Look, Bones fell pretty far in the draft. Maybe it's because he played for a mid-major team. You can go back and watch Crashing the Boards if you want to on our Bones Highland episode, but I'm excited to watch him. I think with Jamal out, Bones is going to get some good minutes. I said a team with a lot of depth. I should go back and say that I don't know if the depth is phenomenal past their, first 7 or 8 guys, but in terms of fun teams to watch, this is one of them, obviously in my top 3.
Yeah, I had the Nuggets 9th, and they're firmly in the top half of that teams. I just like them, man. Michael Porter Jr. is going to ascend into, I think, a star, even if he doesn't have the defensive capability or the facilitating ability. He's such a good scorer, I think, and he's not even a crazy athlete. Like, it's just pure bag and shooting. He's going to be like an all-time great shooter, and that's not a hyperbole. He's that good. The Aaron Gordon contract, people say it's an overpay. I'm like, man, if he's the guy for your team, you can quote unquote overpay what other teams would pay for him. If they're keeping their window open with Aaron Gordon and you think that's the guy, then that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I like Aaron Gordon. I think that defensively he helps them a lot. Jokic is an improved defender. He is going to have to carry quite an offensive load, so I don't know if that's going to remain the case, but if he can be even close to a neutral on that end, I don't need him to be a good defender. With all the offensive impact he has, obviously. Not a huge analytics guy, but he's unreal. Like, at a certain point, you have to just say, if all of these stats think that Jokic is one of the most impactful players ever, then he has to be, and he's right. That good. Bones Highland, obviously, I think, man, Denver's a fun team, and that's a super fun pick.
Good deal. So far, you haven't taken any of my top 3, any of my picks. So